senior engineer, retired, and member of OIT since inception in 1983, member of OIT Council from 1992 to 2005, World Summit on the World Summit on Information, the WSIS, participated in the WSIS as a civil society activist since the first pre-com of the Geneva phase till the conclusion of the second phase in Tunis, member of the WSIS Civil Society Bureau, representing the science and technology family, and on the Internet Governance Forum, IGF, participated in 8 of the 11 edition of the IGF, I think through Guadalajara. He's one of the founder of the Tunisian IGF as well as the Northern African one, was a member of the first Arab IGF MAG, active participant in the African IGF, and I can go on and on. Internet Corporation for Precise Names and Numbers. His first ICANN meeting was in June 2018 in Paris, member of the African Regional ATRAI organization at ICANN since March 2009, vice chair of AFRO 2010 to 2013, member of the ARDAG Advisory Committee, ALAC and its leadership team since December 2010, vice chair of ALAC 2013-2017. I give you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adel. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to the session on time. As Adel just said, today we will have this session about the DNS industry in Africa and their applications such as dotAfrica, CCTLDs, and then we will speak about the registration data from WHOIS till GDPR. So I have 4 brilliant speakers. I will present them. I will introduce them one by one when they take the floor. So I will begin by Bob. Bob is a telecommunication engineer and he is ICANN stakeholder manager for Africa based in Nairobi. Bob, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Tijani, and for a good surprise. You know, when you sit at the extreme end, anything can happen. Either you come last or you come first. I hope I have 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay, maximum. So mine will be quite brief, and I wouldn't also want to kill everybody by PowerPoint, so it will be very fast. I'll give you an overview of a recent study that ICANN did around the state of the African, the state of the DNS market in Africa. But maybe just to have a feeling of the room, how many people have email addresses? Okay. How many people have local or localized or national CCTLD email addresses like .u, .eg, .ke? I mean not a work email address, a personal email address. So you see the numbers are getting interesting as the questions increase. And there are various reasons, because that speaks to the point of how many of us are actually consuming our own names. And if we are not our own market, then it means the problem starts with us. But most importantly, for a long time, we have been talking about the nature of the domain name market in Africa, but we really didn't know how well we are doing or how poorly we are doing. So I will not run through the slides. I'll just give an overview, and I'm sure it will be uploaded. So we did not know. And therefore, it was important to really conduct sort of a baseline study that could actually be a point of reference to anybody, be you a potential investor in this business, a registrant, a registrar, or a registry, to really know what is happening. This was the first such study that has ever been done for Africa. And we had some interesting feedback, findings, and of course, recommendations. And this will be, I think, touched on by some of the panelists here. One of the things is, so out of the 54 countries, potentially, we have 51 functional CCTLDs. I believe if you talk about CCTLDs, all of us are with us. And we have 5 million, roughly, domains registered from Africa in total. So you could look at 5 million domains vis-a-vis 1 billion people in Africa. If you tabulate that further, it translates to around 4.4 domains for every 1,000 people. Whether that is doing good enough or doing very poorly, I think, is for you to tell us. The value of that registration translates to around $52 million annually. But if you translate it to CCTLDs, it goes down to 38 million. That is just translating the amount of CCTLDs times what they charge per domain annually. Well, again, looking at Africa as a whole, against that value, I also feel there's a lot of work to do there. One major recommendation from that study, and it's available on our website, and we encourage you to read it. In fact, we've prepared like a synthesis in a small leaflet that is outside. You can look at it. Is the establishment of an observatory that is meant to keep a current status and statistics about different elements of the DNS industry. So how many domains, for example, does Kenya has? Uganda, South Africa, Egypt? How many countries, for example, have deployed DNSSEC? So if we could establish such a platform housed somewhere that everybody can reference, then we believe that we are able to actually make proper decisions in terms of the industry. But I think we have made progress because we are coming from a history where our CCTLDs were actually struggling to be technically operational. Today, they are going to the next level of actually even taking marketing, having legal stuff, and actually becoming a business-oriented platform. That was not the case a few years ago. It was about, is it working or not? So I wouldn't say that it has been all gloomy, but clearly we have a lot of work now to transform these platforms to a business-focused ventures. So I would give that as my opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. It was, I put you in the beginning because you are speaking about the industry, the DNS industry in Africa in general. And then we will go from this to the details. And one of the details is dotAfrica. dotAfrica is the only GTLD in Africa now. So we have here Mr. Lucky Masilela, who is the CEO of the South African Central Registry. He is also administrator of dotAfrica through Registry Africa. He is a passionate African for getting the undomained domained and ensuring that Africans do not only have digital presence, but also digital identity. Lucky, you have the floor.
Thank you. Do we start with Jemison or do we start with me straight?
We will start with what you want.
Okay. To warm me up, I'd like Jemison to come up here to give me some energy to continue. The doctor himself from Africa, if the doctor can come here and deliver some surprise for all of us to share.
Jameson, please.
Thank you very much. Very quickly, AFICTA organizes a summit every year, and this year it happened in Abuja, and one of our distinguished panelists was recognized with an award. And the award is with respect to his work in enhancing the adoption of dotAfrica, the delegation itself. So that person is Mugabudi Loki Masilela, the CEO, ZACR. Now, this is the justification. Loki is the chair of the South African Communication Forum, a councillor of the BBEE ICT Sector Council, a board member of Afrinic, deputy chairperson of the ICT Policy Review Panel, South Africa. Masilela led the years-long process that culminated in the launch of the GTLD.Africa in 2017. Under his leadership, ZACR has registered more than 1 million ZA domain, and he has introduced the city domain .Joburg, .Durban, and .Cape Town. In his own words, Masilela says that dotAfrica is not just a TLD, it is representing a lifestyle for the continent, a brand identity for companies, a cultural identity for the cities. It is a social and economic development tool. We see a lot of value in it. It will also bring to the African market and its people mechanism on now doing business. Africa is the new growing market with the youngest population. All those factors allow us to think that dotAfrica could help the fundamental development of internet in Africa. Masilela believes that internet is not just a tool made to sabotage government or support actions against them. It is more than a communication tool. It is an economic tool which has a true value for countries and the development of local initiatives. So for his works in bringing these opportunities to Africa, Loki Masilela was nominated for the Africa ICT Champion Award and was ratified by the board of the Africa ICT Alliance. I now present the award to him. Please join me to congratulate Loki Masilela.
I still have 5 minutes, Doctor. I think, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues. As we talk about the journey through dotAfrica, I think I want to thank AFICTA, extremely for the recognition. And I think this is something that belongs to all of us seated here. It belongs to the continent. dotAfrica is not for me, but this name is for all of us on this continent. Next slide, please. As we speak about this special, unique identifier, we need to understand what are these dots that make dotAfrica so unique, so beautiful a name. It is a name that identifies with the continent. It is a name that pulls us together. I think what Dr. read right now whilst I was receiving my award is very accurate in what we are trying to show. It brings us together as a nation to trade. It brings us together as a nation culturally to enjoy our cultural diversity, not our cultural differences, but our cultural diversity. It also enhances in us pinpointing our historical journey that we have traveled. And of course, it is this Pan-African program enabler. All African programs, I believe, should be embedded, should be based on the name dotAfrica. Next slide, please. Whilst my colleague was giving a presentation, we saw some numbers around the continent, whereby there is only 51 active CCTLDs. We saw numbers about the turnover across or the business size of domain names on the continent being 52 million, but in essence, where it even halves that number, it's next to 38 million US dollars per annum. But those are some of the challenges that we want to address with dotAfrica. With dotAfrica, we'll be establishing the dotAfrica Foundation, which will be addressing the very essence in the countries, those 51 CCTLDs. We need to have more than 51. They must be equivalent to the number of countries on the continent. And we need to assist those to grow and fulfill on their mandate. We also are looking at your registrar development to ensure that our registrars across the continent are growing beyond 11. We have only 11 ICANN accredited registrars, and you need more than that, because if you are not ICANN accredited, you cannot provision dotAfrica. But if you are ICANN accredited, then you get dotAfrica. It is difficult, it is costly to be ICANN accredited. We make it easy, and we need to make it easy through the foundation and the AF proxy. One of the inhibitors to accessing internet has been content in our local languages. The dotAfrica Foundation is binding itself to ensure that it will develop local content which will enable us to access internet and enjoy the internet space. And of course, we have the Pan-African ICT program, which is very critical for our growth. If I may move to the next slide, I see my chief is already standing up. I'll jump the challenges and move into the next one just to show the growth and the penetration. Next slide, please. Now, this is one of the challenges that we have in the uptake. Another question was asked, who has his own domain name? Currently, in the lead is South Africa, followed by United States, Canada there. Then in Africa, the next country that comes is Morocco. We need to see more of this because, as you can see statistically, and the program that we have is going to benefit Africa. So the more of us use the dotAfrica name, the more we're going to change this. Next slide, please. And then these are your registrar penetration. This is a challenge. One registrar in Morocco, or two in Morocco, and one in Nigeria, one in Kenya, 3 in South Africa is not enough. It will not make the game. We need to grow registrars to ensure that we are affording this. Next slide. So what do we do next? We have a program to create awareness, which is followtheflag.africa. If you log on onto your web page and type www.followtheflag.africa, you're going to see the campaign we're embarking on to make sure that dotAfrica is known and across the entire continent. We are going to start driving from from Pretoria all the way to Ethiopia to hand this flag to the Africa Union when the heads of state meet there. So this trip, if you want to join it virtually, you can log on www.followtheflag.africa, or you can join us as we drive through the various countries on the continent. Somewhere, as we drive up, we are going to be summiting Mount Kilimanjaro. We want to welcome you also to join us as we climb Mount Kilimanjaro with this flag and hoisting it at the highest peak of the continent. Colleagues, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucky. Let me invite all our African colleagues to have their own domain under dotAfrica. When you buy a domain under dotAfrica, the money you are putting, it is staying in Africa. It doesn't go elsewhere. It doesn't go elsewhere. It doesn't go elsewhere. It doesn't go elsewhere.